Hello, I'm Dr. Andrew Neville. I specialize in the treatment of adrenal fatigue and related chronic illness. I wanted to talk to you today about something somewhat controversial with adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue and fibro, because one of my patients asked me about it just yesterday, and that is exercise. Exercising with these conditions is a challenge for sure, right? I can remember when I was dealing with my issues with energy and everything, everybody would say, oh, well, you're not exercising. That's why you're tired, right? You got to go out and exercise. And I'd go out and exercise, and then I'd crash and get sick. And I did it, several times till I finally figured out that wasn't a good idea. And that is true for most patients. Now, it varies quite a bit as to how much exercise somebody can tolerate. Somebody functioning at 20% isn't going to get away with as much as somebody functioning at 70%, right? That's the challenge. So I guess the best answer is it depends. It depends on your situation. Now, exercise is difficult too, because there's this kind of psychological and kind of mental, emotional kind of connection with exercise, because exercise is a really common way that we'll use to reduce stress in the beginning, right? In the earlier stages, when we're running on all this adrenaline and cortisol, you burn some of that off with exercise. It actually feels good. And it's helpful, right? But what if the cortisol and adrenaline levels are either kind of have come down through normal, they're into the normal, or they're on the low end, and you burn off some of that? You're going to pay for it, right? Because you're going to drop them too low. So when that happens, the game has changed, right? The rules of the game has changed. So we just have to kind of adapt to it. And we have to choose some kind of a different stress reduction technique, something a little more passive, or at least maybe something not so intense. Now, exercise, the reason for the challenge with energy to a large degree has to do with the mitochondria in the cells. Mitochondria are the little energy producers in the cells. Every cell, muscle cells have tons of them, heart muscle, skeletal muscle. They create the energy, right? This universal form of energy that the body can use to do stuff, to think thoughts, to run, whatever it is. So what happens is, with stress over time, that stress hormone and the free radicals and oxidative stress that's produced from excess stress hormone damages those mitochondria, makes them much less efficient, right? And we can't recover. We can't kind of get nutrients in. We can't pump out the lactic acid, right? That causes all that, the delayed onset muscle soreness from a day or 2 days after you work out. That's from damage in the cells. And normally you just clear that out and do it again. Well, people with adrenal fatigue that process is inefficient, right? So lactic acid builds up, and we get this we can't catch up. Essentially, we can't heal from the exercise. Now, I'm pro exercise. I want everybody to move as much as they can. The problem is, when we go to exercise, our mind doesn't take into account our physiologic state or our age. It's like when I go on to a volleyball court, my mind thinks I'm 25 again. And so it's real easy to overdo it. The challenge with exercise as well, when you're moving, is all the variables, right? So the type of exercise is the first variable, and then intensity, frequency, and duration. And if we can try to control for those and be scientific with it, then it's okay, right? So I start people out with like a little light stretching, or maybe short walks, stuff like that. And then you can gradually increase it. Not like you used to increase exercise in the past, but you can gradually do more and more. But try to control for those variables, right? So pick an exercise, do it at a certain rate, certain intensity, certain frequency, certain distance, and then just change one of those variables when you do it. And always listen to your body. Your body will never lie, but your mind will lie at the drop of a hat. So if you ignore it, if you pay for the exercise, right? Let's say you go out and, walk briskly for half an hour. How do you feel after it that day? You feel okay? Good. How do you feel the next day? And if you're feeling okay the next day, fine, don't do it again. Wake up on day 3. This is my 3-day rule for just about any change I make for patients. Wake up on day 3. If you feel okay, no worse for wear, you can do it again. And then see it. Then every other day you can kind of keep doing that, right? And then eventually you can kind of increase it. So I want all my patients to move as much as they can, but just not more. And when you got somebody at 20%, they can't do, very much. And if you push beyond that, that's a stress, right? And you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So the answer with exercise is it really depends, okay? What I can share with you kind of as a final note is exercise is not going to speed your recovery. Exercise is a stress on the body. And in somebody whose bucket is full, any stress is a problem, right? So exercise will actually slow your recovery. The main benefit to exercise for my patients is really psychological. Get them outside. It's not, you're not walking or riding a bike really for exercise per se, strengthen muscles, strengthen your heart. You're exercising to get a little blood flow to your muscles, let them know you love them and that you'll be back with them later when you have more energy and more stamina and you can sustain output. But right now, less is more. Less is more. So be cautious. All right. Take care.